Welcome everyone to this very interesting webinar on blended learning, the way ahead for learning organizations. So thank you very much for attending. I know that all of you have very busy schedules, so hopefully our webinar will be of value. Before I begin, I just want to make sure that my voice is reaching across to you. If you can hear me, and just raise your hand in the little toolbox that you have from GoToWebinar. Excellent. Thanks, Gwen, Simon. Yep, got that, Rob. Fantastic. So, looks like my voice is coming across, and I can kind of see the audience on my little screen here. I see some familiar names. Simon from Tyco, Amir. Yes, so Priya, so welcome, and hopefully this webinar will be of interest. One note about the webinar is that it's an extremely interactive webinar, and what I mean by this is that we are looking for your inputs, and if you've got any question at any point in time, please do raise it. Just not questions, any comments, insights, complaints, you can just put it through the chat box. We will share it with the audience or try to answer it when we can. Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping rules. This session is being recorded for replay for those people who couldn't make it. You obviously can't also see that we've got about 24 people online at this point in time, so please do share your insights and we'll share it with the rest of the participants who are attending the webinar. Right, so let's do a quick tour of Upside and what it is all about. So Upside Learning was established in 2004, so we've just completed 10 years. So I had our 10th birthday, which was quite nice. The company was founded and headquartered in India, and that is where most of our team is also there. We also have offices in the US, UK, Australia. So I am based in Sydney, Australia, and look after the Asia Pacific region. And we've got customers essentially all over across the globe. We've got to add a few more countries there, including Thailand and Hong Kong. We've just added some customers there. In the APAC region, we've been servicing Australia and New Zealand for 5 years now, close to 5 years, and we've got quite a good list of customers which I shall share with you shortly. But the rest of the region, bulk of our business comes from the US and UK, and we also have customers in South America, Africa, Middle East, and India. In terms of our learning solutions, essentially we're a company that specializes in learning technologies, and that is all we do. So we've got a team of 200 that does this day in, day out. We've got two platforms. One is Upside LMS, which is a very intuitive and easy to use, cost-effective form which handles online learning, classroom learning, logistics, and social learning. We also have a platform that is dedicated for mobile learning on devices, smartphones, tablets, and that's called Upside to Go. We actually, if you are in the APAC region, we do have a webinar coming up next Thursday on the application of mobile learning for healthcare. The details are on our website, so if you want to register for that, I think that will turn out to be also a good webinar. The other part of the work that we do is around developing online content. So we develop online content, and increasingly we are developing online content to be played on smartphones and devices, so this is what we do. Along the way, the 10 years, we have picked up some awards, and I know Harvey from AITD is online, so Harvey, we still haven't picked up an AITD award, but we'll apply soon. But essentially, the awards that we've got is multiple awards in multiple years for Brandon Hall. We also won the eLearning Awards as the eLearning Team of the Year in 2013 in UK. We've also been, our products and solutions have also been recognized by the Chief Learning Officer, by the CLO magazine, and the top companies in learning portals. As a company, we've been recognized as an innovative and fast-growing company by Deloitte and Red Herring, we'll get that right, over the years. So that's that's a little bit about the company, a little bit about the speakers. So I will introduce Amit Gautam. Amit Gautam is the founder and looks after the technology solutions. Amit is based in Pune, so he was one of the two founders of the company, and is very much a person who is very deep into learning and technology. So Amit, welcome.
Thank you, Jeevan, and hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone.
Yeah, that's important. We've got actually participants from all over Asia Pacific, and maybe some from the US too. So yes, the right time zone is important. I look after. My name is Jeevan Joshi. I look after customers in the APAC region, and I'm based in Sydney, as I've mentioned before. So let's quickly do a quick check of the agenda to see what we're covering. First of all, we'll just spend some time about blended learning, and this term has been around for a long time, but we think that the definition of blended learning is changing. Then we discuss the 5 key components of blended learning. To be honest, I think there are more because there's so many options and new technologies that are coming through, but we'll discuss the 5 mainstream ones that form a part of any organization's learning infrastructure. Then Amit will cover the 3 key challenges in implementing blended learning and also the case for leveraging LMS for blended learning. So especially our own Upside LMS is designed ground up to cater for blended learning. One of the advantages of starting to build an LMS when the 70-20-10 or informal learning was already being recognized. And Amit will also share a case study from one of our customers and the 5 key learnings from that case study. So let's power on. So essentially, what is blended learning? And you can see a very healthy blender on the screen. Not something that I personally would like to have, but essentially what it is depicting is that blended learning basically uses the best methodologies to achieve a specific objective, and these methodologies could include online classroom electronic performance support, paper-based, formalized and informal job solutions. Essentially, you've got this whole bucket of delivery channels that you can use, and and you choose which one fits into the learning objective, fits into the budget. And I think it's a real science and an art in terms of to choose the right kind of blend and within the budget and the time available. So certainly that's blended learning. So I did mention redefinition of blended learning. So what does the term blended learning mean for us now? We have been in the e-learning space for about 10 years, and we've seen the definition of blended learning change over time. The first one is that now there is a focus or a shift in focus towards the learning objective rather than concentrating on the delivery methodology. So in 10 years ago, when e-learning was quite new, it was all about how do we deliver this through PC, through LMS, through video. Now that is almost mainstream. LMS is a mainstream application, mainstream technology, and now I think we've come to a stage where, thankfully, starting to focus on exactly what we need to achieve. And how we achieve that, whether it's through classroom or through tools, is secondary. Right? So as long as you've got a good set of tools, something like Upside LMS, you've got all the building blocks in place, and which will allow you to architect something that will meet the particular learning objective and the needs of the audience. Right? So that's one. So we've seen this shift from the focus on technology to really what needs to be achieved, which in my opinion is a very, very good movement. We're also kind of seeing that traditionally online learning kind of extended what was being taught in the classroom. So it was very much, yes, do the page turning online course for 1 hour with a test at the end and you're finished. But what's happening now is that the blended learning, the definition of learning is expanding. It's becoming more performance support and also sharing knowledge. So thankfully, the definition of learning, as we all know, that we learn through different means each day. So we talk to somebody, we learn from them. We read something, we learn from them. We do an online course, we learn from that. We go to a classroom, we learn from that. So this definition of what learning is expanding, and the platforms are there to support it. So Amit will cover about some of the features within Upside Learning and discuss those. So we've kind of designed the Upside LMS to include and support collaboration. And finally, something that I'm sure all of you are familiar with. So I just want to check how many people are on either Facebook or Twitter. If you can raise your hands, that will be fantastic. So we can just have a look. I am actually interested to see if there's anybody who's not on social media. The hands are kind of coming up. But yeah, so essentially it's become part of our life, and what's happening is that this is now finding its way into learning. So our own FRED framework, for example, which is the framework for responsive e-learning development, does incorporate. You can integrate with social learning components. Our own Upside LMS actually integrates with Twitter.com, and it also has its own internal Twitter. So you can see that people are now getting information from all sorts of sources, and that also becomes part of the learning infrastructure. So what are the 5 key components, right? So let's look at them, and I'm sure all of you will be quite familiar with most of them, if not all. And while I do that, I just want to send across a poll, and if you can just answer that poll, I just want to give us a little bit of context as to does your organization currently use blended learning to deliver training? So if you can respond to that by clicking the right option, that'll be fantastic. I'll kind of monitor the results as they come through and share them with you. So yeah, so we've got about 55% who have voted. Let's wait for a minute more till we kind of reach 70%. So if you can just respond to that, that is fantastic. But just the numbers, and I think this is where I'll probably stop and share the screen with you. The numbers, close and share, and you should see that. Essentially, about 2/3 of the participants already have blended learning, 25% don't, and the rest are not sure, right? So you can see that 2/3 of the audience already are into blended learning, which means that if there is something on the slides which is rather elementary, please forgive us, because there are another 25% who are new to blended learning. But this is quite interesting because the ASTD, State of the Industry magazine, industry report, has said that of all the learning that is done within organizations, only about 54% is through classroom training, right? The rest, 46%, is through technology-enabled learning. And this 54% is down from about 65% about 4 to 5 years back. So you can see that the extent of technology-based learning is increasing, and these 5 components play an important part. So I'm going to close the poll and then share and talk about the 5 components. What I want to is, some of you will be familiar with quite a lot of these components. What I want to check with you is that if there is any trends or observations around each of these technology that you have observed, please do send it across. Send it across to me in the chat box, right? Okay, so let's talk about the self-paced, e-learning, right? So this is where I guess e-learning started really. You build courses with HTML pages, and then the SCORM standards came in, and which was a big, a really big, big movement in e-learning, big movement in e-learning, where no matter how you built it, as long as it was packaged according to SCORM, you could play on any LMS, and that made things quite easy for our industry. So essentially what self-paced learning does is that it increases access to learning material anytime by leveraging technology. So you build once, and it's there for as long as you want it at any time, if it's on the LMS, and it's used for, I guess, all sorts of training. But one of the observations is that you really can't have any kind of behavioral change through by staring on a computer screen. You need to interact with people. So it's probably not the best for anything that requires change of behavior, but for information, technical information, software training, compliance courses, it's very good. Right? And of course you can make it as interesting and engaging as as possible. So the other advantage of self-paced learning is that it gives a consistent message. So it really doesn't, different trainers in classroom might handle material differently through e-learning, for example, especially for compliance. The message is consistent, and that makes it more effective. And of course, one of the big factors driving e-learning, and I will not pretend that this is not a major factor, is saving costs, right? So compliance training and saving money to deliver learning are the two big drivers, has been the two big drivers. Thankfully it's starting to change because now people are starting to put other sorts of courses and integrating with collaboration and knowledge management, which actually allows people to do their work better. So so if there are any questions, comments, please do send through. Yes, there is a couple of comments. Harvey, this Amaya said about the flipped classroom. Yes, I'll actually talk about that when we come to face-to-face training. Yes, so what's new? What's new is the very exciting tin can standards that will replace COM 2004. I think it's now called Experience API. And it's a very exciting development because it does more than reporting. It allows you to essentially now build a learning solution which could include an online course, it could include a TED Talk, it could include a PDF document. And to be honest though, the awareness about tin can is very low in the e-learning industry at this point in time. It is a little bit sophisticated, so it takes time. You need to sit down and really understand. But more importantly, also understand the implications. It is going to have an impact on the way you do instructional design, on the way you build courses, and on the way you think about e-learning. So actually, I might actually just ask Amit if he's got any views on tin can and the potential of tin can.
Yeah, thank you, Jeevan. Jeevan, I think the way tin can was kind of designed and even thought about, it was primarily because all the technology-enabled learning we do, it does do a good job in capturing what we do on a computer. But I think we all know a lot of things, a lot of ways we learn, a lot of learning we do still happens offline. We meet somebody, we go to a website, we interact with somebody on LinkedIn, we meet a customer, we go to an event. I think tin can, the sole purpose of its design is to be able to capture any activity we do in real life which helps us learn something. And I think, with that vision in mind, I think tin can is kind of a panacea for how do we really capture learning and how we are doing it. So I think with tin can adoption, starting from learning systems and other systems, I think tin can will open up kind of a way to be able to mix and merge activities which we learn from various channels. So not just e-learning or not just, let's say, mobile learning or not just social learning. So I think tin can has that potential where organizations which they already are doing, some of the implementations I'm aware of, they already are able to link performances with learning and training in various activities, which is I think the goal of any training team is to be able to define how is learning or training affecting performance in a positive or a negative manner. So I think tin can has the potential to change that very positively.
Look, absolutely. Amit, thanks for that. And I've actually sent a link to Wikipedia about tin can, and there are some videos on YouTube about tin can. So certainly something that you probably should keep in mind and spend some time on. The other I guess the other trend that we're seeing and something that we've started specializing in is responsive courses. So if you've basically heard of responsive, it is websites, e-learning courses that optimize or they become according to the screen size, right? So the same course will look different on a smartphone, and it'll look different on a tablet, right? So because the screen size is different. So just to give you an idea, I'm just going to launch one of the one of our Fred courses, and you can see what I mean by that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to launch the course, and then I'm going to resize the screen to a tablet and also to a smartphone dimension, and you'll see what I mean by that. Right. So here, let me just go to the next screen. So you see that screen now. Hopefully you can see that on. Yep. Okay. So now you can see that, right? Now that is for a PC, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to shrink this to kind of a tablet size, right? And you can see, what's happening here is that the way that the content displays has changed, right? So it's gone from here to here. So it's been sensing the dimensions and then making it, because on a tablet you scroll down, that's why it's arranged vertically downwards. On the other hand, in a PC you actually have a tab, you've got a mouse, so you can navigate that way. And what happens now if I go to a dimension of a smartphone, right? Coming up very soon, you should be able to see that. There you go. So you can see that the same screen now looks like this. It's got information that's optimized towards a smartphone, right? So smartphone, tablet, PC. Same course looks different 3 times. So that's responsive, and that is certainly what happens. It means that you build a course, it can be viewed over all the devices and PC. It just means that you can't use Flash, for example. You'll need to use HTML5, and we've got our own framework to develop that. So that's about self-paced responsive courses, and also reduction of development cost. So what's happening is through the use of tools, Articulate, Captivate, Adobe products, etc. You're getting to a stage where the simpler e-learning courses are quite easy to build using a DIY approach. But the training budgets being reduced, there's always a pressure on costs being reduced for these online courses, and we have seen those costs come down, especially as we implement our own efficiencies and new technologies. Certainly something that we are working towards to give to our customers. Okay, let's talk about face-to-face training. So look, personally I prefer face-to-face training over e-learning. This is the sort of person I am. I like to look at people and talk to them, although I do spend a lot of time in webinars. I might be doing 2 webinars per week, but face-to-face training is particularly suited where high human interaction is required and where you require behavioral change. So do you really need to have a face-to-face training for learning Excel? Maybe not. You could probably do it through an online course. Can you do a motivation? Can you get your employees motivated through an online course? Probably not. You probably need a really experienced trainer in the classroom talking to people about understanding what they require and having deep conversations as part of the training workshop. Right? One of the advantages of face-to-face training is that it's quite easy to start. You just facilitate some content in a room with participants, off you go. But scalability is limiting, which means that the same course now, if you have to run across multiple locations and across multiple times, that becomes quite difficult and costly. So the high cost of allowing trainers to travel, for participants to attend, and to be honest, I think nobody has a lot of time to sit in a 5-day workshop anymore. It's kind of come down to 2-3 days, 2 days, and now they're even talking about half-day classroom workshops. What's new in the world of face-to-face training is that in the classroom itself, they've started to use online learning and collaboration. So, online resources as part of the classroom. So you're sitting there, people are getting iPads or, displaying through the computer screen. So some resources, online resources like a TED Talk, for example, or a simulation on how, the formulas work in Excel become part of the classroom, right? So it's not just the facilitator speaking. Yes, and also automating search and registration. So what's happening is the whole process of looking for workshops in the organization, then registering for that's being automated, especially through LMSs. So it's possible, now to search up courses, register for that, and all that is taken care of without manual intervention. So that saves a lot of time and effort. And finally, one of the things that we started, especially for our Upside to Go mobile product, is that there are user cases of classroom trainers wanting to use Upside to Go to deliver workbooks and PDFs in the classroom. So instead of your big manuals, they are now moving towards tablets with PDFs, and our Upside2Go platform allows to manage those resources quite easily. So that's another user case for face-to-face training. Let's talk about the third one, which is something I'm really excited about, is mobile learning. I won't speak too much about how important it is and why mobile learning is going to become more important, more popular than PC learning, for the simple reason that we're using mobile more and more. So if you use mobile more and more, mobile devices more and more, it means that our learning has to move to mobile, and that's what we're doing now. Is a lot of the times now we are designing for an iPad. And once you design for an iPad, it plays pretty okay on the PC. So it's almost like we go mobile design first, and the PC can take care of itself. It relies on handheld devices. So technology is an issue. Different operating system, different browsers. Something like the Upside2Go, which is our mobile platform. We spend a lot of time to make sure that it works across the 4 major platforms. And you can be quite creative in use of mobile learning, so it can be a good pre-post training follow-up. So, maybe a discussion forum about the course that somebody attended 2 days ago. So what's new in mobile learning? Blending various learning modes on the devices. So what this means is that you've got Facebook on your smartphone, maybe you've got access to your intranet, and then you've got maybe Upside2Go as an application for learning. You can see that there are actually different sources of information that's available on your smartphone, right? Or maybe a TED Talk app. So you can see that people are now starting to use this different types of content available on your smartphone to come up with a nice learner experience. What is new is that the use of older browsers is limiting. So in any environment where you've got IE 5 or 6, some cases 7, and even 8, for example, the use of mobile or the courses that you can build is a little bit limiting because these older browsers do not really support mobile very well. But a lot of organizations are now moving to the latest version of Firefox, IE, and Chrome, and which is very, very actually designed for mobile. And one thing we've realized is that for building mobile learning, you actually require a slightly different ID approach, right? So I showed you the 3 screen sizes, which means that your storyboard needs to have 5 variations for the same course, right? So certainly that's you just need to be aware, and we've had a webinar on that last week, which is quite interesting. Social learning, again, it's incorporating social media into learning or using learning with social components, including for collaboration, knowledge sharing, feedback. It fits very well into the 70-20-10 and informal learning framework. To be honest, it's also something that people use it every day, so it is the adoption or resistance to change is low. A lot of people are using Facebook, so it's not that difficult to use Facebook-like features for learning. So our own Upside LMS, for example, has got, there's Facebook-like features, so if there are a lot of learners, you can actually become friends with the learner and share photos and videos, etc. So it's got a component of social learning. What's new in social learning is integration of social into learning infrastructure, into classroom learning, into self-paced e-learning. So that's beginning to happen, and then it'll happen more. But also that new skills will be required in L&D, which means that our L&D teams will need to get familiar with how to manage a community, how to, what are the rules governing social exchanges on social media. So, that's something that we need to be aware of. Virtual classroom, which I've spent a lot of time on, including now. Now I don't think it's a very mainstream technology. It's pretty reliable and pretty robust. It's a cost-effective way of delivering training, like we're doing here, information, and the recording, which we will be recording, can be made available for future access. What's new? Look, the support for virtual classroom over the devices is becoming quite good. So they've been bringing out new versions. For example, the one that we're using, GoToWebinar, there's a lot now you can do simply through your smartphone, so I don't even need to sit on a PC like I'm doing now in a quiet room. So it's, you could now conduct virtual classroom from anywhere as long as you've got a device connected to the internet. Wireless availability increases, which means that it makes it easier for people to attend or conduct virtual classroom training. However, the features have, within the virtual classroom have remained more or less static for the past 6 to 7 years, while the performance has improved. That means that it is easier to connect. It's it's easier to now share images. So it's certainly a technology that's matured very fast, and it's also become very competitive. So it's we know customers who there are very few customers who don't know about virtual classroom training anymore. And our own Upside LMS is integrated with a couple of virtual classroom, the more popular virtual classroom tools, recognizing that it is an important component. So I think what I'll do is, this is where I finish. I'm going to start this poll, and if you can respond to that, that'll be fantastic. So the poll is about what are the top challenges that that are in blended learning in your organization. So it's going to appear on the screen, and while you're responding to that, I'm actually going to hand over the controls to Amit for the rest of the presentation. So look, thank you. If you've got any questions for me, please keep it till the end, or just send it through the the chat box. So yeah, so over to Amit, and while Amit is doing that, I'm going to share the results with you very soon. So I'll close that, and I will share it. And here are the results. So there are 67% who think management buy-in is the challenge, followed equally by lack of, time and human resources to manage, and absence of a good system to manage centrally. Now that's something we might be able to help you. So Amit, over to you.
Thank you, Jeevan. Jeevan, could you also pass me back the rights to present?
Sure. Just give me a second.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes. So just kind of discussing the results there. Yes, Amit, so you have the right to present.
Okay, let me just try that then.
Yeah. So in the meantime, while Amit's finding his this message on the screen which says you can present, could you also, if there's any comments, I know that if there's any comments, especially in terms of the tin can or the different modes of learning, would be very happy to answer any question. And yes, there's also a question about whether we'll receive a copy of the presentation. Look, the webinar is recorded, and certainly that can be viewed afterwards.
Yeah. Jimmy, can you see my screen now?
I've still got the poll. Yep, got that now.
Can you see my screen?
Not as yet, Amit.
Now?
Yes. Sure. There you go, technology. Nobody's completely familiar with technology.
Okay, so I am assuming my screen is now visible to everybody.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jeevan. Yeah, I think the poll results, kind of what I'm going to take up in the next section. The poll results kind of align well with what we have seen in our own observations in the past so many years, in what challenges people face or companies face in implementing blended learning. Now, what you kind of described and the 5 key components, and if you look at that, it all looks very logical, and it you kind of want to ask and wonder why it is still a challenge to implement all the components, and what is it stopping companies from doing that, because the benefits of a complete package, or if you go back to your first point of redefinition of blended learning, a shift in focus to learning objective, if you look at that, I think you really wonder why companies still don't do that, and why they don't really reap benefits of true blended learning for the users and the human capital. So what we'll do is we'll look at the 3 key challenges which companies face. So kind of without kind of talking about that, let me just start with them. So here they are, the top 3 challenges which we believe are. Number 1 is the top and senior management engagement with the entire exercise. Number 2 is the technology, IT, or the lack of it, which we will discuss how. And the third is user reaction to the change in way things happen in a company. Now, these three challenges are a result or kind of a culmination of what we have seen, observed, and been through over the past so many years while implementing a variety of learning solutions, right from LMS to mobile platform to custom learning to custom mobile learning. So this is what we have seen in our experience is the challenges at the companies, and it also kind of we derive it from various interactions we have with industry through the events we participate in, the events we hold, studies we engage with other providers. So I think what we'll do is we'll look at all of these in more detail. We'll cover exactly what they mean for us. So number one, the top and senior management engagement. Now this particular challenge is perhaps the biggest one, and for obvious reasons, because the investments and the will to implement such an approach flows top down, and without the budget or the the capital, it is difficult to implement anything in the company. And if there is any lack of engagement or understanding at that level in the top or senior management level, I think this could become easily the biggest roadblock to implement true blended learning. Now this happens due to a number of reasons. It could be as simple as, and unfortunately as simple as, not taking training itself seriously. A lot of companies we have seen, they don't really look at training as an investment, but they look at it as a kind of a cost, and try to minimize that cost to the extent possible. They fail to understand and evaluate the long-term benefits of investment in human capital, especially in the post-2008 world, where we have to do more with less people. I think training, learning, they are critical part. But some companies still have this challenge of taking training seriously, which is a big roadblock. In a few companies, we also notice that even though the training itself is not a concern or a challenge, I think there is a strong level of apprehension and maybe even fear in letting people interact on their own outside a formal training environment. And they kind of still hold on to a firm belief that training happens only if it is pushed or if it is formal and planned by a team in place. So I think they fail to understand that there is a benefit of letting people interact, and there are channels apart from formal training channels like informal learning, social learning, collaboration, networking, which do help people learn a lot outside the training environment. So they still want to have everybody under one roof, face-to-face engagement. Possibly some e-learning is happening there, but again, if you go back to your face-to-face training challenges in terms of logistical, scaling up, cost, and off-the-job kind of time, I think it's not a good way to do that alone. Also, sometimes what happens is people do not want to change the status quo. So if I'm doing face-to-face training for a long time, I don't want to change it to anything else, because disturbing the status quo entails upfront investment, some new costs which will come into picture, and the demand on time for teams also. So I think there is a kind of a balance between a trade-off between what is new and how much time and money can you spend on that. So there is sometimes this myopic or a short-term view that what is happening is right and let us not invest more, because we fail to understand the benefits in the long term. But clearly, it is a top-down mindset. It needs to be overcome, and it is primarily a change in mindset. I think post 2008, a lot of studies have been done, a lot of work has been published, which kind of highlights the benefit of skilled people and continuous training and retraining, so that we could utilize our human capital better than before. So I'm sure this will not remain as strong as challenge in the future, but yes, it is definitely one of the strong challenges right now. The second one, it is a key challenge. It is the technology or the IT or the lack of it. And if you look at the components of blended learning, all aspects of the blended learning package, they are mostly technology enabled. If you leave apart the classroom or the face-to-face training, even there, if you'll actually find a lot of technology tools being used. But everything else, right from e-learning, even tin can, virtual classrooms, social, informal learning, they're all technology components, and that is where the IT team of a company has to play a vital role in implementing the full experience. So right from selecting the right technology to providing 24/7 technical support to the users, it is a daunting task, no doubts. But I think this is where sometimes inexperienced IT team or understaffed IT team or maybe unwilling teams, they lead to a problem here. So especially in medium or large, and especially non-IT businesses, the apprehensions of using so much of technology could also be a factor in why this is a challenge here. And also what needs to be factored in is the need of sometimes implementing multiple systems and a clear plan in advance to be able to integrate them seamlessly in terms of both the user experience and also the information which goes to the management in terms of reports, in terms of analysis of how things are happening. So this has to be thought out in much in advance for this one. But yes, I think currently this multiple systems to be needed to implement this, plus lack of focus, sometimes apprehensions on managing support and how to really manage so much of technology. These could lead to a big challenge in terms of how do you implement blended learning. Among the three challenges, I think this one is the trickiest to comprehend and understand and even address, and also to kind of even estimate, because this is very, very human behavior kind of a challenge. And this is the user reaction. So let's say the top management, the senior management is willing and has the right intentions to implement all components of blended learning, and IT team is clearly aligned with the business goal, and they have provided all the support required, right from vendor selection, software selection, setting up a support team, everything done. I think it still boils down to the reactions of the end users to various forms of learning methods. Now, the initial one is always resistance in companies. Anything changes, anything is new, mostly it is a kind of a resistance to it cannot change so soon. So I think that reaction can be eased down by workshops, coaching, plus I think a big part of that would be where the top management can work with the team managers. To that level, they have to work with the team managers to understand and make them understand the importance and the benefits of such an exercise. I think once the team managers have been given directives and have been helped well, they will help users to adopt the new training forms much easier. Also, I think a big factor here is what kind of systems or system do you use to achieve this? Because in today's world, systems need to be really, really easy to use, and and they have to be intuitive. They have to be able to enhance the experience or the feeling of somebody using the system. So they should not come out as a deterrent to people using the various components. So the system or the systems we use should be very, very easy to use and well designed and well thought out. I think the last dimension of the factor here is the rise of mobile learning, and I think Jeevan did touch upon that, where we are just simply using more mobile for everything. So I think we have to be able to understand that users, employees need to access. They just don't need. They actually demand and expect that they can access anything and everything from their mobile devices. Yes, there is a dimension of BYOD, security of information, and other things. But I think, notwithstanding those, and they are critical factors and underlying factors, I think users and employees still expect and need to be able to access this information. So I think in today's world, this has to be a key factor in implementing blended learning. Is whatever technology you are deploying, let's say for e-learning or for virtual classroom or for social learning or for informal learning, for collaboration, networking, Facebook-like features, I think it has to be clearly made and designed to support mobile, both as a delivery platform and also experience-wise. So, as we saw a demo from G1, that it is just not enough to make it work on mobile. It has to be designed well for mobile devices of different sizes and dimensions. So I think these are the three key challenges in our view, which companies still face. And one of the solutions or one of the ways which it can be mitigated is to have let's say, if possible, a single system to be able to manage and deliver blended learning to the user and user space. And so what we'll do is we'll go through kind of look at a case for leveraging LMS for blended learning. Now before I do that, I just wanted to quickly run by Jeevan a question is in terms of Jeevan, the challenges I just kind of described in detail, or the 3 challenges. You meet a lot of people, you work with so many customers, and you work with our prospects, and you go to all the events you participate in. What are your first reactions to these challenges? Do you see them yourself, or how do you feel about them?
Yeah, look, I think they're very valid, all 3 of them, and especially one that I was thinking about was the user adoption. And we think that user adoption is only a challenge when the LMS, for example, is implemented the first time. What we sometimes don't really consider is that even within the LMS or the online learning content, the way that it is delivered or the way it looks and feels. For example, the LMS may change radically, or the content is also now available on iPad. Even though people who are familiar with e-learning have been using for some time, also they also might resist the change. For example, if you ever take this webinar, I'm sure that a lot of most of the people in the audience are actually viewing this through PC, right? So if tomorrow, if you were to say, actually this course is now only accessible through iPad and smartphone, there will be some issues and some problems, some resistance, because people are so used to a certain way of doing things. So certainly that user reaction is incredibly important, and which is why the first implementation, the first course, the first experience with the LMS is really, really important, because they make or break impressions, like any system, I guess, based on that. Especially in terms of technology consideration, it is really important to make sure that you really know the technology infrastructure and all the challenges upfront, to do a lot of testing, because somebody might have an old browser, the content may not play. So be prepared as much as you can, but you also need to recognize that there will be certain people within the organization for whom the learning technology will not play perfectly. So there always will be. Like even today for our webinar, we had some technical issues, right? So it's going to be part of life of using and learning e-learning. Thanks, Spots. Amit.
Thank you, Jeevan. Yeah, I think yes. Again, as I said, the user adoption, the reaction. Let's say given that the management and team managers and the technology and the IT all kind of align well with the overall business goal of maximizing the intelligence of human capital. I think the proof is in the pudding, and it is in the final reaction or the experience which people have on the system or the systems. So I think yes, it is very, very critical to be able to choose the right technology, the right system, and the right experience for the users. So having discussed that, let me move on to kind of present a few points for why an LMS could be really leveraged well for implementing blended learning, and what kind of key benefits does it offer. So because always from an IT perspective, a single system to do multiple things is always better than multiple systems doing multiple things. From integration perspective, accountability perspective, from the perspective of reporting, analysis of data, and also a seamless experience to the users. They don't have to log into multiple devices or multiple platforms. So we look at that, and we have about 14 minutes left in the webinar. We would like to keep about 5 minutes in the end for just taking up a few questions which have come in. Some of them are interesting ones. So I will strive to finish my part in about next 8 minutes or so. So if I'm rushing through a few points, please excuse me for that. And if it needs some kind of repetition or I need to hold on to that, do raise a hand or put in a question. I will try to focus more on that part. So looking at listing, 6 key points for leveraging LMS for blended learning. First one, not really it's like a no-brainer, which is effective resource management. Any software, the primary role is to be able to automate and make management of something more effective. In this case, resources, and we will look at what resources we are talking about. The second is, which is I think we need to really focus and understand very clearly, is leveraging on learner interactions during and after learning program. I think even face-to-face training and e-learning, if we look at the way we implement it, is the interaction is limited to the duration of the program, and it is, I think, one of the key challenges where training teams face and even managers face is to how to engage learners before and after learning program, either for better retention of learning or also eventually, which is the end goal, is how to understand and make sure that learning continues through the job or the performance of that user, and it doesn't really stop once you are out of the classroom. Third is because we are talking about multiple learning activities, how do you effectively manage all those activities like social learning, virtual classroom training management, calendars, schedules, all of those things. Then the fourth is effective cost management through virtual classroom. This is true in case of diversified, physically apart employees in various locations, remote locations, multiple offices, branches, users on the go. This is really a key part of that. And also leveraging and integrating social and informal learning channels, which are really kind of big ways people learn. And the third is the last one, the sixth one, sorry, is the mobile or the multi-device learning. How does an LMS fit into that dimension? So we will rush through the points one by one in detail. I have a just checking if somebody has a question so that I don't really skip important things. So that's cool. Okay, effective resource management. As I said, it is clearly what each software should do. So it is it makes certain admin tasks easy, more efficient, and more effective, error-free, like ease in creation of training programs using a single system. A big benefit to administrators and the training teams. You don't have to remember, you don't have to create and manage multiple Excel sheets to remember which system has what information and how do you merge that, how do you have to integrate that. Then enabling learners through engaging in dynamic content. So yes, a single system with effective resource management, the learners will be able to access all those resources from a single interface, which is a big plus. Effective inventory management, right from e-learning, classroom training, virtual classroom inventory. Here is a broad term, not just physical inventories in classrooms, but videos, podcasts, whatever inventory you have for training. And yes, pre-training and post-training evaluation, definitely a big benefit. And as I said earlier, centralized administrative management in terms of authentication, login and passwords, user management. If somebody leaves the company, somebody joins new, you don't have to have 4 systems to manage that activity. Then easy assignment and delivery of training. If you have one single system, you can blend and mix and match all elements, virtual classroom, classroom training, e-learning into a single package and deliver that at one go to a batch of users, a single user or a team of users. And it also helps in better analytics and decision making through common reports. Then an LMS would also help in leveraging learner interactions during and after learning program. Now, these could be as simple as notifications. So notifications could be also some intelligent nuggets which can go along. Let's say every week after a training program, something or other which is relevant to the program could be sent to the devices or laptops or emails or as an SMS. Sharing and collaboration. So you could create a community, which is the last point there in discussion forum. So for each training program, you could have a community which in the LMS is there for users in that training program. So the instructor, the users, and maybe somebody else or experts could all be a part of the community and discuss various challenges faced by people after training is done. So let's say they go back to their jobs and start implementing some of the practices they learned. They have a problem they're facing, one of them is facing something, they could immediately ping somebody on that community and get an answer and do their job properly, which is kind of performance support. And then sharing and collaboration, feedback, you could enable users, they can give feedback, their managers can give feedback on the training programs, surveys right upfront immediately when the training is over. And in one of our customer cases, we know that they actually had 3 surveys planned. After every 6 months of the training program, they will send a survey to the employee and the manager, and they would use that information to be able to measure effectiveness of the program even after it is long over, which is I think a very good thing to do. evaluation of training, and multiple things. So yes, I think that's a big plus here. Then training activity management, platform scheduling, especially if you have classroom training and virtual classroom, they both are time and date based. So for a large company, this could really be a big challenge, and LMS does it easily. So you could see all the conflicts, you could see availability of instructors, experts, you could set up training schedules easily right from your LMS environment. Then bulk announcements, email blasts, notifications to a group of people, informing people about an available program or telling them they've been assigned to the program. It is all done through the LMS system. Sending reminders, up to 2 reminders, 3 reminders, 4 reminders. LMS systems do allow you to configure those reminders. This makes it very easy for administrators because they don't have to use their Outlook and remember everything in their calendars that I have to send a reminder for this program today. Imagine this for a big company. This is a big headache. So I think LMS does it very, very beautifully. Follow-ups, in case somebody didn't turn up and something else has happened, you could really easily follow up to the system. And you could also manage all your logistic arrangements, for example, venue management or the inventory in the venue, everything could be managed through the LMS easily. Virtual classroom is, it's already a big hit where, especially either for companies who are training for business or in companies where people are located far from each other, and so they use virtual classroom to deliver training. And that's, if it is done through an LMS, it gives you an added benefit of a single interface to manage and run your training on virtual classroom. So users can see the virtual classrooms in their calendar, which also shows them their classroom training and also shows them their own events which they can create. For example, in Upside LMS, we have a common calendar for classroom, virtual classroom, for your own events, team events, company events. So, single system does make it easy to manage all of these things. And of course, there's a better control over the entire class, which is the package for multiple learning elements. Then, as Jeevan mentioned, let's say, for example, Upside LMS and other LMSs do have similar features. Is we have a Facebook-like feature, we have a LinkedIn-like feature, we have a Twitter-like feature. Now, all these features have been designed not from a social perspective, but from a learning perspective. So they have been, kind of modified so that the engagement which people have on the system through these channels primarily enhances learning of each other. So, let's say LMSs may have an internal set of modules to enable users to share content. So photos, videos, documents. People can comment on each of these content. They can rate this content, enhance collaboration, knowledge sharing, and also create informal channels of communication just for queries or questions I need to ask. Network of experts can be created through the LMS using these channels. And also, like our LMS, we could also connect with external world fields of information. Like, in our system, a user can connect to his or her Twitter feed within the system without going out of the system. So that's an added advantage. And then I think the advent of Tin Can would definitely help here, because once Tin Can is more and more popular, the LMSs will need to be able to capture all that information in a single place, and LMSs will play a big role in that sense. And then multiple device and mobile learning, we did cover a lot of that earlier. Even LMSs today are becoming responsive to multiple devices, including the handheld ones. Upside LMS, yes, it is. We have a release coming up in a couple of months to incorporate that. It'll be a big game changer for the LMS. And mobile learning is not just about delivery medium that you have to make it run on mobile devices. It is actually more about methodology of learning through mobile devices. So for example, using more of videos, more of nuggets, on-demand access, offline access to content, and more of performance support, both pre and post learning activities. So we have a quick poll coming up, and we have about 4 minutes left. So I'll just quickly rush through the poll. So I'll try to set the poll up now. Okay, Jeevan, can you help me with the poll? I don't think I can start the poll, or you already started the poll. Yeah, I think we can.
Just one question. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, we'll just keep it for another 10 seconds, and we'll then close the poll. All right. So about 38% use one system, and then there are around 50% which uses two or more. Which is a big number of people using multiple systems. So I think definitely those 30% they realize the value of a single system to deliver multiple training components. But yes, there is a big case for using a single system like an LMS for multiple learning components. So we had a couple of more slides. I'll run through how we map the features in LMS for blended learning, so which we talked about earlier. So self-paced learning and virtual classroom training could be done through e-learning, classrooms, broadcasts, webinars, instant messaging, e-meetings, documents, web pages, CBTs, surveys. Then for face-to-face training, LMSs could have modules on classroom training management, workshops. Then for mobile learning, LMSs could deliver and help in delivering nuggets, short video courses, just-in-time information. For social and informal learning, LMSs usually have a lot of channels, so communities, forum, discussion boards, wikis, Twitter, blogs. Upside LMS, for example, has all of them built into the system, so for easy mapping. So this is, how typically mapping would happen. Of course, there are more components and more mapping to be done, but this is indicative of what most common mapping is. Then I'll just take about 30 seconds to, cover a case study we had with one of our customers in India, Aircel. It's a large telecom operator, and if you imagine a large telecom company, there are typically multiple offices, multiple cities, very dynamic, very fast, and things change, products change, they have new offers, everything happens. So they have a huge training requirement, which they do, manage, very successfully. But Aircel, I think they were looking to leverage an LMS for a better management of their multiple components. So what we saw there was they had diversified geographies and demographics, multiple layers of people, multiple kind of people. They were only using different methodologies to deliver training. So they were using virtual classroom in some part. They were using for face-to-face training. They're using e-learning. They're using other methods. Then they wanted to have the flexibility that what they had was they have center each, for example, within India they have centers for each state, and so each center should be able to actually centralize repository.
Sorry, Jeevan, we just got a comment from one of the participants saying that they just had a few questions to ask.
Okay.
So like while Amit is covering off the slides, if anybody has any questions, if you can send it through your chat box, we'll attempt to answer it.
Sure. What I'll do is, Jeevan, I'll just quickly, I'll keep this slide open, and maybe we can start looking at the questions, because we have already covered all the benefits and challenges of blended learning in the. So this case study is a very pertinent example of what we have seen and what we have done with one of the customers. So I think I'll keep the slide open on the solution part, and maybe you can take up the questions which are coming in. Jeevan?
Yes, we'll be very happy to answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
I think there is a question about what is nuggets, and I'll quickly answer that, saying nugget is kind of a small piece of learning material. Could be a couple of pages, couple of images, couple of diagrams, but it's like a small. If you look at a course of 40 slides, a nugget could be a 2-3 slide. Could be a summary, could be a full feature, could be a full item. So a nugget is a small information piece.
And also one question about how do you interact, how do you improve interactivity in virtual classrooms?
I think the various tools now available like GoToMeeting, WebEx, they in fact have advanced features to make it very interactive. So they have polls, they have hand raising, they have whiteboard sharing, they have screen sharing, they have document sharing. So I think they already have advanced levels of collaboration and interactions built into their tools. So the trick is to be able to use them and design your course when you're delivering using virtual classroom tools. Design your course that so that it kind of leverages all those tools. So you have all those tools available in the software now.
Fantastic. Could you throw some light on what exactly is TimCan? Wikipedia didn't
Okay.
help much. So that's
Yeah, I think
from
just
Richa.
yeah,
Yeah.
a really good summary on tin can. Tin can is like is like SCORM, but not like SCORM. So SCORM used to help us track progress in a course when running in an LMS. So tin can goes much beyond that, and it helps you track progress or your interactions with any activity you do on internet or computer or outside world. So it's like a offline learning tracking mechanism. And of course, this is just a very brief summary, but when you read more about Tenkan, I'm sure you will understand what I wanted to say.
Actually, there's some news I just got from one of our team members saying that our own framework, which is Framework for Responsive E-Learning Development, has been included in Tin Can's website as an early adopter under the authoring tools category. So just some news saying that, look, there's a lot of Tin Can, and I can assure you that you probably need to spend some time doing some reading to understand that. But very happy to get in touch with us, and we might be able to. I think we're planning to run a webinar especially on Tin Can. So keep an eye on Upside Learning's webinar page.
Okay, and I think we will respect everybody's time, and we'll kind of close the session now. And Jivan, any closing comments you have? I would like to thank everybody just for joining us, and I hope we could justify the hours spent with us. Thank you again for everyone.
The same here. So thank you everyone, and thank you for participating and taking the time to attend this. Thank you. Bye.